Hello everyone, welcome to Statecraft IS Academy. Well, as you all know, we have started a new initiative called the Daily Current Affairs Discussion, and you'll get the PDF of this video on the Statecraft Telegram channel, Statecraft website, as well as in the description box of this video. So let's get started with the current affairs. Our first topic of discussion is reassortment. So what happens is when flu viruses mutate rapidly and mix with other strains, this process is called reassortment. So it is basically mixing of the genetic material, and this reassortment can actually make genetic changes that possesses a transmission threat to the humans as well. Next we'll talk about red tourism. So it was launched in 2004 and it involves visiting places that are of historical and cultural importance to the Communist Party's history, and so that it also provides impetus to the tourism and local business. So it basically reminds people of the sacrifices made by the leaders of the Communist Party to forge a modern China. So here we are talking about the Communist Party of China. Next, Devika River. So it's a river in Jammu and Kashmir and it holds a great religious significance as it is referred by Hindus as the sister of river Ganga. Also, Devika river is thought to be a manifestation of the mother goddess Parvati, and the river originates from the hilly Sudha Mahadev temple in the Udhampur district of Jammu and Kashmir, and it flows down towards the western Punjab and where it merges with Ravi river. So recently, Ministry of Personal Public Grievances and Pensions had said that the Devika river project is for all and therefore suggestions are welcome from every party. So a project is going to be established in this river. Next we'll talk about Industrial Decarbonization Initiative. So India along with the government of UK has recently launched a new work stream to promote industrial energy efficiency under the Industrial Decarbonization Initiative. So you should remember in this Industrial Decarbonization Initiative, which is also called IDDI, is it is an initiative of India and UK. So talking about the initiative, it is a clean energy ministerial initiative and it is a global coalition of public as well as private organizations who will work to stimulate the demand for low carbon industrial materials. Also, in collaboration with the national government, this initiative works to it will standardize the carbon assessment process. Also, it will establish ambitious private as well as public procurement targets. It will incentivize the investment into low carbon product development and also design industry guidelines. And it is coordinated by UN Industrial Development Organization, and the IDDI is a co-led by UK and India, as well as it has two other members which includes Germany and Canada. So the total there are 4 members: UK, India, Germany and Canada. Next we'll discuss about the Clean Energy Ministerial Initiative. So it was established in December 2009 at the UN's Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference. So its purpose includes CEM is a high-level global forum. It promotes policies and programs that advance clean energy technology to share lessons learned and best practices, and also to encourage the transition to a global clean energy economy. And important thing to remember that India is also a member country, and there are other 29 countries which are part of CEM. Next we'll discuss about World Employment and Social Outlook Trends 2021. So it's a report which has been released by International Labour Organization, which is also called ILO. So talking about the report, it analyzes the key labour market issues, and as you all know, the labour market issues are unemployment, labour underutilization, working poverty, income inequality, labour income share, factors that exclude the people from decent work. So it has highlighted how the COVID-19 crisis has worsened the pre-existing inequalities, and also highlighted that the vulnerable workers section has been hit the hardest. Next, talking about the key findings, the COVID-19 induced job loss, which will reach 75 million in 2021. So the job loss due to COVID-19 will reach 75 million in 2021 before falling to 23 million in 2022. Also, unemployment is expected to be at 205 million people in 2022, and the quality of newly created jobs would also deteriorate in the developing and emerging economies. And compared to 2019, an additional 108 million workers worldwide are now categorized as poor or extremely poor. Now we'll discuss about the International Labour Organization. So it was created back in 1919 as a part of the Treaty of Versailles. This Treaty of Versailles had ended the World War One. And it was also established to reflect the belief that universal and lasting peace can only be accomplished only if it is based on social justice. And this ILO is a specialized agency of United Nations, and also it is a tripartite organization. That means it includes the representatives of government, employers and workers in its executive bodies. Next, the members include India is one of the founding members of ILO, and it includes a total of 187 member states. And in 2020, India assumed the chairmanship of the governing body of ILO. It is headquartered in Geneva in Switzerland. Next, we'll discuss about an editorial which came on 5th June, that is on World Environment Day. So it's about saving biodiversity and securing Earth's future. So this day has been celebrated since 1974 by engaging governments, businesses, celebrities and citizens to focus on the effort on pressing environmental issues. So the theme of this year's Environment Day is ecosystem restoration. And also World Environment Day 2021 will mark the beginning of the United Nations Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. So this plan will be for a decade, that is from 2021 to 2030. And Pakistan will host the World Environment Day. Next, first we'll discuss about what ecosystem is. So it involves three aspects. First is it is a community or group of living organisms. Second is these organisms live and interact with each other. And the third is that they live in a specific environment. So it is a community or group of living organisms that live in and interact with each other in a specific environment. See, the word ecosystem seems to be very easy, but questions related to ecosystem or ecology, biomes, biosphere, a very basic question related to what is the definition of ecosystem or how to define biosphere has come in prelims before. So understand the difference between ecology, what is the difference between ecosystem and biosphere, it's important to note that, and to understand these terms on a very broad note. Next, for example, the ecosystem, it is an example of ecosystem. So tropical forests are an ecosystem which are made of living beings such as trees, plants, animals, insects and microorganisms that are in constant interaction with themselves, and they are affected by other physical, that is sun, temperature or chemical components which include nutrients. So basically ecosystem consists of living, that is biotic, and non-living, that is abiotic components. So these components are linked with each other through nutrient cycling and energy flow, as we have seen in the example before. Next, we'll discuss about ecosystem restoration. So it's a process of reversing the degradation of ecosystems such as landscapes, lakes and oceans so that we can regain their ecological functionality. Also to improve the productivity and capacity of the ecosystem to meet the needs of the society. So globally, we have lost around 7% intact forests since 2000, and also around 1 million species might be lost forever during the next several decades as per the sources. And the climate change and the ongoing pandemic has actually put an additional stress on the natural ecosystem. So we are required to take measures which include repairing our dysfunctional relationship with the nature. So we need to understand the importance of nature and build a healthy relationship so that they both benefit from each other. So there is the sustainable development, and also preserving the biodiversity is directly relevant to the social, economic, and environment well-being of our own people. So we must think and reimagine the concept of one health for all the living organisms. So we should emphasize in the concept of one health for all the living organisms, including invisible biota in the soils, and because all of this are responsible to sustain our agriculture system. Next, we'll talk about the National Mission on Biodiversity and Human Well-being. So, in 2018, the Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council, in consultation with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, had come up with the National Mission on Biodiversity and Human Well-being. And also, a Bangalore-based biodiversity collaborative is working on the National Biodiversity Authority to hold consultations and also prepare a roadmap of the mission. So, the key features include strengthen the science of restoring, conserving, and sustaining our resources. So basically, strengthening the science, making use of the proper methods, which can effectively restore or conserve the nature. It should have a scientific backing. And next, biodiversity should be considered while taking into consideration any development programs. So while, for example, if there is a dam building project, so considering the nearby biodiversity, giving importance to it is essential, so that there are not other species in the environment that are degraded because of the construction of a dam. Also establish a citizen and policy oriented biodiversity information system, and to enhance the capacity across the sectors, so that we can achieve the biodiversity targets, which includes HE targets, etc., and also the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Next, talking about the significance, the mission actually offers a holistic framework, an integrated approach, and widespread societal participation. So a data is there's a data that around India holds around 2.3% of the global land area, but it has around nearly 8% of the total global biodiversity, and also 4 out of the 36 global biodiversity hotspots. So India is basically very rich in biodiversity. And so this mission can help India become emerge as a leader in demonstrating the linkages between conservation of natural assets and societal well-being. Next, the mission's comprehensive efforts will also help India empower India to restore and even increase our natural assets. Next, it will lessen the impact of climate change and other natural disasters such as pandemic and flood. As recently we have seen cyclones hitting the Indian coast. So this mission can actually mitigate such and lessen the impact of such natural disasters. And also it can rejuvenate the agricultural production system and increase rural incomes, and it will help in creating millions of green jobs in restoration and nature tourism, etc. Next, new restoration activities across India's degraded lands, which amount to almost a third of the land area, could also generate several million jobs. And the mission will also help in meeting its commitment towards the Convention on Biological Diversity, UN Sustainable Development Goals, related to pressing social issues including poverty alleviation, justice, equity, protection of life. So basically, benefiting both the biodiversity, that is our environment, and at the same time the well-being of the people. It can generate a strong national community committed to sustain biodiversity. And also it will offer nature-based solutions to numerous environmental challenges including degradation of rivers, forests, and soils, also the ongoing threats from climate change. This scientific inputs can also guide the development of strategies for conservation and ecosystem management. And the mission's One Health program, integrating human health with the animal, plant, soil, and environmental health, will actually prevent the potential to curtail future pandemic. Also, this additional programs which are directed at food and nutritional security will in turn also influence the public health outcomes. Talking about the way forward, the planned mission actually recognizes that we need a strong and a extensive cadre of human resources, which will be required to meet the enormous and complex environmental challenges of the 21st century, 21st century. So, community participation is very essential. The civil society should come forward to take the charge of protecting the environment, and also they are required to we require trained professionals have the highest caliber in sustainability and biodiversity science, along with investment in civil society outreach. Also, the gain of environmental change will be upheld and carried forward by the cultural change from the environmental education from for millions of students. So, education about the environment, like we have a subject of EVS that should be there in all the curriculums of all the schools from kindergarten to postgraduate levels, so that from the very beginning they will have that spirit of saving the nature and protecting the nature, working towards that, and also motivating other people, their parents and people nearby, other students, to work towards the protection of the environment, because this is the need of the hour. So all for today, guys. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.